Welcome. I'm Sebastian Mahfoud, and you're listening to WCAT Radio, the on-air wing of En Route Books and Media, bringing you the dulcet sounds of Catholic wisdom.
This is an encore presentation of Faith and Sports with your hosts John Acquaviva and Ed Billick. Tune in to hear Faith and Sport live Monday afternoons from 2 to 3 right here on Carolina Catholic Radio Charlotte, AM 1270. You're tuned into Faith and Sport on the Carolina Catholic Radio Network, AM 1270 Charlotte. Now it's Faith and Sport with your hosts, Dr. John Acquaviva and Ed Billick.
And welcome to Faith and Sport right here on Carolina Catholic Radio, where we come to you each and every Monday afternoon. I'm Ed Billick, and now let's get started with our host, the father of Faith and Sport, the good professor himself, Dr. John Acquaviva.
Thank you, Eddie. Hey, folks, welcome, wherever you are listening. This is Faith and Sport, and this is where we do something different. It's a regular sports show, but we look at it through the Catholic lens, and that means that we weave into the conversation ethics, morality, and character. At least every once in a while, Ed and I will do that. So thank you for joining us on this Monday. And I want to give a special thank you to Dave Anderson at Brand RPM. He has stepped up to be our sponsor. In fact, in particular, the sponsor of our segment a little later on in the show called our Cathlete of the Week, where we have combined the term Catholic and then athlete, and somebody that is either playing or that has played, and they've just demonstrated the faith through what they say, what they do, some of the work they've done off the field, on the field as well. So thank you very much to David Anderson at Brand RPM. In fact, I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to our Cathlete of the Week. But first, the rundown. Here's what we're going to do this week. We have the weekend headlines coming up in a minute. We have our guest, Lou Judd. He's the director of Sports Leader. He's going to talk about what they do and why they do it. We're going to do our this week's hit or miss. And then we have the quick Q&A with Dr. A, the quote of the week. And then, as I mentioned, we'll end up with the Cathlete of the Week. Ed, how was your weekend, brother?
It was wonderful. You know, folks, this is 1 hour devoted to, yes, our faith, but also sports. Because, as I always say, if you go to a sporting event, it's not if you're Catholic or Protestant or Jew or Islam. It's not if you're Democrat or Republican. We're all there for the team. Well, here we're for Team God. And our goal is to bring people to heaven, right? At the end of it, that's what it all was. That's what Sunday's gospel was.
That's right.
So then we blend in our love with the sports world to do this. So that's why we are Faith and Sport. And, great weekend. And we'll talk about some of the highlights there, but doing well as we're into this month of August.
I know, it's amazing. In fact, a week from today's Monday, a week from tomorrow, we start our first meetings at Wingate University. And then the next Monday, 2 weeks from today, we have our first day of classes. It's amazing.
Shout out to my wife. Tomorrow's her birthday. Jackie Billick, happy birthday. So, a lot of birthdays in August. A lot of her sisters. You too?
Yeah, including mine. Yeah,
my mom's 90th birthday is August 20th, but yours is this Sunday, huh?
This Sunday, yeah, that's right.
God, you're going to be, what, 33 now or something like that?
For the 18th straight year. No, maybe it's the 28th straight year. I can't
You professors can do math pretty quick in your head. But anyhow.
Yeah, this is really neat to be doing this program. I feel privileged. I know you feel privileged to do this. We've been on the air now. This is our second week. We had a little run at the men's conference back in the spring. But Ed and I were on the air, as if you were listening 2 weeks ago to our first show. We were on the air for a year and a half at Radio Maria, which was out of Louisiana, but they had 12 different affiliates, mostly in the East Coast, some in the Midwest, a little bit down south as well. But now we're on EWTN Radio. It's an affiliate here, Carolina Catholic Radio, and we are happy to be home. And this just goes out to the state of North Carolina and parts of South Carolina.
You know, we're happy to be home because then we can talk about Coach Ron Rivera, Carolina Panthers, a devout Catholic.
That's right.
Luke Kuechly, another devout Catholic.
That's right.
A lot of good Christians, and I'm probably missing quite a few with our Carolina Panthers.
That's right.
We could talk our Charlotte Hornets, and it's relating exactly. We can talk Charlotte Catholic High School and their football program, which I saw a piece on the other day. So we're live and local, which is really, really neat.
No, this is really neat. In fact, one of the reasons that you and I feel privileged is thanks goes out to David Papandrea, who took on this whole project. Yeah, this is truly a mission for him, and he is the one who brought EWTN radio here to the Carolinas. And David Papandrea has done a great job, and we're in about our 4th month on the air. But this is the first local show that has aired, so this is great.
You know, it was pretty funny. I was griping a little bit because the signal wasn't coming through on 1270. So what did we do while we were riding here? I hit 2 buttons. I hit the app, the Carolina Catholic Radio app. I hit Listen Live Now, and it came across a Bluetooth. We listened to a great program as we were driving in here to the studio.
That's right. In fact, you can listen via the app to the national EWTN radio show. But right now, the only way to hear this show, at least as of this moment, is through 1270 AM. But the app, and eventually you'll be able to hear it through the website as well. So.
Right, actually. Hey, I want to give a little shout out to our producer, Chris, who's behind the glass over there. I think he's also taking some photos here. He's a photographer as well. He's got his Atlanta Braves hat on. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I was just trying to get your best side from in here, but that's kind of hard to do. I can't tell which is your best side.
I don't know.
You have to wait till we turn around, I think.
Yeah, you got your Michigan shirt on, so you're doing
I'm sporting it, brother.
A little PGA golf shirt on. So.
Absolutely. We're sporting it here inside the studio, even though nobody can hear us. But actually, folks, listen, if you're just joining us, this is Faith and Sport. I'm Dr. John Acquaviva. I'm a professor of exercise science at Wingate University, the host of this show, Faith and Sport. We got Ed Billick. Ed, tell us about your experience at WBT and why your voice sounds so great.
You know, it started back at Gannon College, Gannon University. I had my own radio show, and I should have brought my ID card to show you what that looked like. But anyhow, I've always had a passion for radio, and after 32 years in operations management, I put myself through broadcasting school, do a lot of different part-time work over at WBT and WFNZ, and I'm also doing a little work with Bob and Sherry's show. So it's a hobby of sorts, but I enjoy doing it, and it's good to be here. So.
No, I'm glad to have you, brother. You bring a certain level of professionalism to the studio each and every time. I appreciate that, buddy, and I appreciate you. Folks, let's do this. Let's do our weekend headlines in a couple minutes. Lou Judd, the director of sports leaders, is going to join us on the phone. Let's talk about what's going on in the world of sports. In Major League Baseball, the big thing this past week was, of course, there was the trade deadline. And I think this is going to change the landscape, as it does just about every year in baseball. The 3 big trades, though, Zach Greinke went from the Diamondbacks to the Astros. We're going to talk about that a little more later. Nick Castellanos, the outfielder for the Detroit Tigers, got moved to the Chicago Cubs. And Yasiel Puig went to the Indians. He's kind of a controversial guy. Was with the Dodgers, more recently with the Cincinnati Reds, but now he's moved to the Indians, so bolstered each of those. There's a lot of trades. There's more than 20 just on the trade deadline day, which was, I think, last Wednesday. That's going to change the landscape of Major League Baseball for sure, but keep an eye out for those 3 teams and those 3 trades. Golf, the Wyndham Championship was this past weekend. JT Poston, American, won that tournament, and what's coming up the next 3 weekends is the FedEx Cup. I think you understand this better than me, Ed. What is the FedEx Cup?
Right now you have 125 players, PGA players, golfers that have qualified to participate in the FedEx Cup. So you have this weekend, the first one is the Northern Trust, which is pretty cool. That's the first tournament in the tour, and then you move on to the BMBA Championship, which is in Medina, Illinois, and it all ends up at East Lake, at the East Lake Golf Course down in Atlanta for the Tour Championship. So during those 3 tournaments, they vie for the FedEx Cup. Now, of course, you know, Brooks Koepka, who leads with the most points, and then I think Rory McIlroy. It's all your standings in the FedEx Cup. They change the rules from time to time, but it's exciting golf. So on the PGA Championship, that one at East Lake, you can win a tournament and not yet win the FedEx Cup.
That's right.
Like a couple of years ago, Tiger won it, and I think Phil won the FedEx Cup, or it was vice versa. But anyhow, it's an exciting time as all these golf tournaments come to a close. So by August 25th, the season is over for golf. And what was unusual this year is the 4 majors were evenly divided up. So there's pluses and minuses, and do a post-game kind of review. Did that really make sense? But what's happened to Tiger Woods since the Masters? He has not played, and will he even have a presence during the FedEx Cup Championship? So anyhow, Northern Trust in Jersey City, New Jersey this weekend. The purse there is $9 million.
I know, and we can expect the amazing thing. We've talked about this before in the old show, but it's amazing. Even the least paid, the winners at any tournament, it's well over $1 million now. The winner of this FedEx Cup, by the way, gets $15 million, $70 million total. So just for those guys being in there, they're going to
these guys have a lot of great charities that they support, and also
I like to hear that
money doesn't go into the pocket. I'm sure a lot does, but a lot goes to their charities.
Absolutely. In the world of the NBA, I think there's only one big signing, one big piece of news. It was Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors. They re-signed him 4 years for $100 million. So he's going to make $25 million over the next couple of years. That was a big signing because they got weaker through losing Kevin Durant, but they kept one of their better players, Draymond Green. In the world of football, college football, they started fall practice this past week. It's funny to call it fall because it literally was not even August yet, but I think a lot of them just call it training camp. Most of the polls are out. In fact, virtually every poll is out at this point, but none, at least I've seen 5 or 6 polls, and none of the top 3 have changed. What do you think the top 3 on virtually every poll I've seen?
Alabama, Clemson,
and Southern School, SEC, Georgia. They were the top 3, and the only one that changed, I think one of them had it, Alabama at number 1, but virtually everyone had Clemson.
Do you recall where Texas A&M came in at with Jimbo Fisher and the boys?
Yeah, I think in one there were 7, and I think in another there were 6. Yeah, so they're expected to be pretty good this year. No doubt.
I was going to tell you, and I'm not quite excited yet for college football. Maybe we'll talk that a little bit later.
Yeah, we are going to talk about
I don't have that yet.
No, either do I. It's tough to do it on a 95-degree day. Actually, I think today's going to be
in Charlotte. Yeah,
I think today's going to be kind of cold. It's not going to be quite 90. So, in the NFL, second week of training camp is going on. Tom Brady also. He has signed another contract. How old is Tom Brady?
He's turned 42.
Just turned 42, brother. You're right on top of that one.
He's just a couple years younger than you.
Just a couple. It's just amazing, though, because they signed him at the age of 42 through the 2021 season. It's just amazing to say that. In fact, if somebody were to say to me, when's 2021, I'd say, I don't know, a couple decades from now.
He'll be one of the first NFL players to hit 125 years old. We'll be long gone from this world.
But he'll still be playing quarterback.
He'll be at all the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. He'll walk out there, no crutches, no wheelchairs. No, he'll walk right on stage at 125.
Because he's so old, actually.
He eats well and he takes care of the body the good Lord gave him.
That's true. This is true. Brother, how many years after your playing days can you get inducted into the Hall of Fame? Do you know in football?
I don't know, because is there a veterans committee? It's 3 years?
Yeah, in baseball it's 5, yeah. But I think because he's so old, I think he's just going to, one weekend, he's just going to do the induction speech, and then the next weekend he's going to play for the Patriots. Anyway, another thing, speaking of the Hall of Fame, one of the things that occurred this past weekend was the Hall of Fame. There's induction.
Yeah, the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the Pro Football Hall of Fame inductions. And there was several people that got inducted, but I thought some of the bigger names were Ed Reed, former great for the Ravens. Tony Gonzalez played both for the Falcons and the Chiefs. And then Ty Law. In fact, Ty Law is from the aforementioned New England Patriots
and
quarterback.
Aliquippa, Pennsylvania boy.
That's right. He is
same hometown as Tony Dorsett.
Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. So now there's 2 Hall of Famers from the same town. That's amazing. And tell me the name of the town again.
It's Aliquippa. It's just to the kind of west side, northwest of Pittsburgh.
Brother, that's a good trivia question. For anybody else other than you, name the town that both Hall of Famer Tony Dorsett and now Hall of Famer Ty Law are from. Yeah. By the way, Ty Law is a Michigan guy. So, and one of the reasons that it's great to get Ty Law in there is that he's not only from Michigan, but now Michigan, as far as Hall of Famers via college, they're one behind Ohio State. So.
How about that? I think you had an audio clip, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought you and I found this particularly interesting, and let's play this video clip, and we'll just make commentary. From Ty Law from the Hall of Fame induction speech.
My message to everybody tonight: we're all here to sacrifice our lives for the sake of others. Some sacrifices can be as small as paying for someone else's coffee, or as great as risking your life for your country. No matter where you fit on that spectrum, I encourage each and every one of you to start with a small but great practice of believing in yourself. You can't wait for somebody else to validate your purpose. You have to believe in yourself. You can't wait for somebody else to tell you that you're great. You have to believe it yourself. You can't wait for society to tell you you're beautiful or that you're a good person. You have to believe that for yourself. I thank each and every one of you for believing in me and my dreams. Because of you, my legacy lives on. Thank you for this incredible honor. God bless.
What's your thoughts as you heard that?
You know who believes in us?
Who?
First and foremost,
let's hear it.
The good Lord.
That's right. And he may be the only person that believes in us. The only being that believes in us at this point.
Yeah, really. I tell you, you build your confidence around the Lord's love for us.
No. We really enjoy doing the show, and we've actually, I think over the next few weeks, we're going to hear more and more from people, the regular listeners and so forth. But he does bring out a great point that it does start with you. I thought that was a really good message. I thought he said a lot of things there in just a minute's time. But it's true that we often wait to be validated before we kind of move ahead. We wait to be complimented, or we wait to be acknowledged before we move ahead. And it's true that so many times it starts with us. And you can bet that there was a time that people did not believe in Ty Law as a football player or as a person. And he just said, no, I have to do this myself. And this is one of the things that I do as a parent, that my wife Alicia and I do as parents to our 4 children. But they're so young. Our oldest is 9 years old. Your kids are older, and my guess is you've had the opportunity to do that. But the time that I get to do this on a regular basis is at school. All my students are between the ages of 22, at least for the most part. And I tell them I have the same message for them. And Ty Law, the thing about that, though, is he had a much bigger audience than you and I do.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great message.
But never discount the positive words, the smile on the face. Thank you for what you've done. Validating people's good performance, it goes a long way.
Okay, so coming up in a few minutes, folks, we have Lou Judd, Director of Sports Leader. He's going to call in and talk to us just about what that character building program is for, and primarily coaches. He's going to give us details on that. The other stuff going on in the world of sports I thought was worth talking about is in the world of contracts. I think this is so amazing that in the world of contracts that there's so many people, Ed, that don't really like or respect the process of signing a contract. And this is something that we're seeing, for instance, with Ezekiel Elliott. And somebody just asked me, a friend of mine asked me just this past weekend, what do you think about the Ezekiel Elliott? And just to give you the listeners a little background on this, Ezekiel Elliott is a running back for the Dallas Cowboys. He signed a 4-year contract as a rookie. He's well paid. He makes, I think it's something like $5 million a year as a rookie, right? And this is his rookie contract, I should say. He has 2 years remaining on his 10-year contract, and he simply said, not enough. And he is definitely one of the better running backs in the National Football League for sure. But the thing that my friend asked me was, what do you think about this? And I know partly he was asking me as a sports fan, but also he knows me as the host of this show when we talk about character ethics and so forth. And he asked me what I thought. And you know what? This is like so many other things in the world of sport that have to do with money and big money and so forth. I think we become a little immune to it. But it is a shame when this happens, Ed, because if you can sign a contract, and if you do sign a contract, doesn't a contract mean just that? Isn't that binding in any court of law? But it's interesting because in the world of sport, there seems to be exceptions to this. If the athlete, especially maybe if he has his agent in his ear, if the athlete simply decides that he's not making enough money, even though he fully signed a contract knowing exactly how much he's going to get paid each year, he says at some point, I don't want to do it. And he's holding out. That's why he's not in practice for the Dallas Cowboys. And it's frustrating to hear this. But the main thing, Ed, is it's like so many things in our society, whether it's actors or actresses, politicians, athletes, they're all in that group of people where they do have, even if it's a slight bit of responsibility, they do because they have all these rights. There's some responsibilities that go with those rights. And I think that it is negligent on their part to not honor that contract. What do you think?
Well, you got the agent is playing into the person's head. Okay,
yeah. There's
a loyalty thing. The owner, of course, Jerry Jones says, "Well, we don't need a rushing leader, all-star running back to win the Super Bowl." It's like so it becomes the self-esteem, it becomes the dignity, it becomes the respect thing. And then the other side of it, sports radio, and not this show, that's drama. And they feed off of drama. I mean, I'm driving in the other day. I put on ESPN, and they talk for 20 minutes on this topic. Okay, they're giving it way too much airplay. So a lot of that plays into it. good luck, Ezekiel Elliott. I hope you get your money.
Do you really mean that? Do you hope that he does?
No, I'm saying it a little sarcastically because guess who? The Cowboys are going to play football with or without him.
That's right.
Just like the Steelers played without Le'Veon Bell.
That's right.
The running back lifespan is really short. In radio, you could probably be on the radio till you're 75, 80 years old, okay? In football, getting your body beat up like that, the lifespan is real short, so good luck with what you're trying to do. It just, I pay very little attention to that.
Going back to the Le'Veon Bell thing, when it happened last year, were you hoping that they just wouldn't sign him like what ended up happening?
Yeah, eventually I did, and then the locker room turned against him and said, we don't need your sorry here,
Yeah.
So and so he's now playing with the Jets, and we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, he's one of the best for sure. So, all right, that's good stuff. So that's the weekend headlines. Let's switch gears now to our phone guest. He's on the line right now. His name is Lou Judd.
Is that the Faith and Sport Hotline?
This is the Faith and Sport Hotline. Very good. All right, and on the line, on that Faith and Sport Hotline is Lou Judd. He's the director of Sports Leader. He's going to talk to us about what Sports Leader does, among other things. Lou, welcome to the program.
Thank you, John.
Brother, listen, it's been a while since you and I talked. You were on the other affiliate when we were on Radio Maria, so welcome to EWTN Radio and Carolina Catholic Radio. And Lou, just start us out with the basics. What is Sports Leader, and why are you such a big part of this?
So Sports Leader is a ministry that started in 2004 to help coaches focus more intentionally on virtue and mentoring and ceremony and Catholic identity so that we can use sports, especially within our Catholic schools and our Catholic parishes, as more of a ministry since there's millions of kids playing sports, and so many of them within our Catholic circles. Mm-hmm. So if we can help use those opportunities more directly for ministry, we can bring them closer to a love of their Catholic faith more effectively.
Very good. I love that within your first couple words there, Lou, you mentioned the word ministry, and that's what indeed this is. Tell us about the 4 virtues that you folks strive for at Sports Leader.
So our main pillars of virtue, mentoring, ceremony, and Catholic identity are our 4 pillars. So virtue, we have a curriculum where we email out every single week material to help the coaches plug into their practices and their games. So prayers and videos and questions, discussion starters, etc., quotes, things that coaches would find helpful in order to teach these things to their players. Mentoring, of course, helping kids then take the virtue that we're working on and make it more practical in their life, make a resolution on how to make life better. Ceremonies, we have lots of different traditions to help celebrate the virtue and celebrate the relationships in our lives, our friends, our family members, our teachers. And then Catholic identity, of course, praying with the other team at the end of the game, making Catholicism a better, more prominent part of our uniforms, and all going to Mass together as a team, praying the Rosary as a team. So just finding all different sorts of creative ways in order to integrate the faith within the team environment to teach Catholicism.
We love it. Folks, we're talking to Lou Judd, the director of Sports Leader. I'm Dr. John Acquaviva. You're listening to Carolina Catholic Radio. Lou, tell us a little bit more about Sports Leader and how and why you felt compelled to elevate this program, this ministry, to a national level.
So I grew up in New Jersey. I was blessed with a head football coach who was a great example of this. Very, very Catholic man, mm-hmm. and an outstanding coach, winningest coach in the history of the state of New Jersey, but also a tremendous man of faith. And I learned a lot from him, and I've always found that inspiring. That I've always loved sports. My dad was a coach. Mm-hmm. I grew up in a Catholic family, so I was around faith and family a lot. And this is a tremendous blend that I just love. I love my Catholic faith. I love my family. I love talking about God and helping people grow closer to Him. So this is an outstanding way, but then even more so, when you look across the landscape of what's happening within our country, within the Catholic Church, parish youth ministry is an awesome thing, but the numbers of kids playing sports in comparison to parish youth ministry, I mean, it's almost night and day. And so we have a lot of time, energy, resources, positions, people employed within dioceses and parishes and schools that focus on parish ministry and campus ministry. But the number of kids participating in that is like 10% or less. Meanwhile, within sports, well over 50%. In some schools, it's closer to 90% of kids are playing sports within our Catholic schools and parishes.
Wow.
But we have no one overseeing that. And that's just, that's ludicrous. That's like Pizza Hut not having anybody in charge of overseeing the pizza. And that just doesn't make sense. So there's this huge, huge platform that we have within our Catholic schools and our parishes with these huge structures already in place. But we've allowed the world to seep in to such a degree that we're not using it as we should, to use it as a ministry platform and not just about winning games, etc. So our hope is that we can help create a shift in that, view sports more as a ministry without changing. I mean, they're still competitive, they're still fun, we still love them and get excited and passionate about them, but just channel it a little bit more to what we're really about. I mean, if we look at the true purposes and objectives of why our parishes and schools were built, they were built to help kids get to heaven.
Right.
That was the primary focus. And so if we're going to have sports at our schools and parishes, well, the primary focus should be just that as well. And so we have to help inspire, inform, and create more of a culture, create more of a vision that this is what it's for. So I'm coaching here at a Catholic school. This is the reason why I'm here. Not just to teach a kid how to hit a ball or shoot a free throw, but also help them grow closer to our Lord and eternal life.
Absolutely. Lou, you mentioned the high school coach you had in New Jersey, but you did not mention his name. Do us a favor. Tell us his name, and then tell me one characteristic that you remember that you particularly admired.
So his name was had a very Catholic name, Vic Pater Nostro. So Pater Nostro in Latin means our Father.
Sure.
Coached at the school that I went to for 43 years. He had this great blend of being extremely demanding. He knew how to get your 100% really quick, but he always did it in a very Catholic, respectful fashion. He was never demeaning. He was never cussing. He just had this really, really good blend, and he would have guys over to his house all the time, and he always had this phrase that he constantly reminded us, gentlemen, God always comes first. God always comes first. And so that was a great lesson. I mean, we won an awful lot of games while we were there. He won 20 state championships in his career, but it was a lot more than that. It was about God being first. And that always stuck with me, and it was a great lesson. And so I've had a lot of coaches. I've been doing this for 15 years now. I've had a lot of coaches tell me, "Well, you can't do both. I mean, it's either you have to be really, really nice and not worry about winning, or you can't be nice and you worry about winning." And it's like, well, that wasn't my experience as a high school football player.
Yeah.
It's like we basically never lost. And Coach did it right, and focused on God. So you can do both, and we have to teach people to do both.
That's right.
And actually, the more you do the one, the more you focus on God in a virtuous, right way, then the more you're going to win.
That's right.
The better you're going to do. The more kids are going to fight harder and persevere and communicate and respect one another. And then once you have that culture on your team, well, that just breeds more and more success because you won't quit. That you're not going to keep us down. We're going to keep coming. And that's the spirit. That's the attitude that you have to have if you want to win.
I love this ministry. Folks, we're talking to Lou Judd. He is the Director of Sports Leader. You're listening to Carolina Catholic Radio. We got a couple more minutes here with Lou. Lou, one of the reasons I really enjoy having you on today and in previous programs that we've had over the past couple of years is that Ed and I talk a lot about ethics, character, morality, and sport through the Catholic lens. But you are one of the people that's out in the field doing it. And so we really appreciate what you've done for the world of sport, and in particular, how you've elevated coaching at the Catholic school. And this is for people who coach at Catholic institutions of all ages, correct?
Yep. Kindergartners all the way through university.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Now tell me, share with people. So kind of bring this down to, something real for people to kind of grasp onto. What's a specific and recent event that Sports Leader has been a part of, and what did you guys offer? Like, what did the program look like for these coaches? And give us the place where you guys were and maybe some of the people that were there.
So we just recently, on July 31st, did a rosary rally with all of the Catholic high school football teams around the city of Louisville, Kentucky.
Awesome.
So there are 5 teams in that area, 4 in the Louisville area, and 1 just across the river in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've done this for, I believe, 4 or 5 years now, where we've invited all of the Catholic high school football players to come together to a parish, and we'll gather somewhere between 400 and 500 young men, and we pray the rosary all together. And we give them an opportunity to lead and to pray, and it was very appropriate because the Archbishop of Louisville, Archbishop Kurtz, is suffering with cancer right now. So we were able to all come together and pray for him, pray for our shepherd, and it was a great experience of unity, of brotherhood. I mean, they're all competitors on the field, but we're brothers off the field. And so it was short. It was an hour-long event, very easy in and out. And we were blessed this year with an incredible guest speaker, Patrick Tolles. He was a 3-time state champion and a quarterback at the University of Kentucky and Boston College, and then he was also a Focus missionary. So he came and gave his testimony of how Catholicism has changed his life and how it helped him be a better man and a better football player. So it was an awesome, beautiful opportunity. You're sitting in this church that's pretty near full of young men on their knees in front of our Lord, the Blessed Sacrament, and you hear this loud, bold praying of the Hail Mary and the Our Father all together in unison. And it was very moving. It's like, yeah, this is what needs to happen across the country. And I mean, imagine if we could help inspire all of these young men to be real leaders for their Catholic faith, not passive, not letting somebody else do it, but no, them taking the lead, taking their faith seriously. I mean, what a change.
Yeah.
What a transformation. This is what our country needs right now. We need young Catholic men who are willing to stand up and be real leaders.
You know, Lou, this is something you'll certainly be inspired by and certainly relate to, I should say, more than anything. But last year I was asked to speak to a church, a community in New Washington, Ohio. And I gave a couple talks, and one of the talks I gave was ethics and character and morality as it relates to sport. And it was an all-Catholic audience, and it was in this auditorium, the parish hall of this particular parish in New Washington. And after I gave the talk, and it was just about, I used some of the words that you talked about, but I had a chance to elaborate on it because it was a 45-minute presentation, but I talked about competition and hard work and discipline and so forth, and respect for your teammate and respect for your coaches and so forth. And after I was done, I said, are there any questions? And the woman that was sitting as far back in this auditorium as you can sit, she raised her hand and I said, "Yes, ma'am." And you could barely hear her on the stage where I was, but she said, "Every Catholic high school in America needs to hear this talk." And I know that's what you're trying to do, but let me ask you this. If you had 5 minutes in front of every Catholic coach, 5 minutes in front of every Catholic coach in America, and somehow we could magically bring them all together, what would you tell them? What would that message be if you had 5 minutes?
That's a really good question. The first thing that comes to my mind is, Coach, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to picture yourself at the pearly gates with our Lord standing in front of you. And he's going to look at you and he's going to ask you, Coach, how many of the young men or women that you coached did you really help get beyond these pearly gates? And he's gonna know what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna come up with excuses, it wasn't your role, it wasn't your place, you didn't have time. I feel it kind of getting hot in here. But if you really dedicated yourself to that, you're going to be glad you did.
Yeah.
Because this is what God created us for. He created us for heaven. He created us with a mission. And coaching is an awesome, awesome mission.
That's right.
It's fun. It's passionate. It's exciting. But it's also, there's a tremendous responsibility and a tremendous vision to it that God wants all of us to be with him. And so we all have a role to play in that. And the responsibility, the power, the influence of a coach is incredible. And I think a lot of coaches, they don't reflect and pray on that quite enough. I mean, to realize, okay, coach, if you're with your kids probably easy 2 hours a day, 6 days a week for 3, 4, 5 months. There's no other adult on the planet that gets that amount of time. Nobody, not even their parents.
Yeah.
Typical teenager spends 15 minutes a day of quality time with their parents. You get 2 hours.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're just teaching them to backpedal, how to hit the curveball.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to do that. But if that's all you've done and you're at the pearly gates, I don't know. I'd dig a little deeper and maybe put a resolution to be more intentional about the purpose of why you coach and why you're there in front of those kids every day and the amount of good that you could do.
That's right. Embrace the opportunity that you have. There's a lot of us have opportunities on a regular basis when we're speaking to people one-on-one, Lou. No doubt about it. But people that are in leadership positions, people that lead people in some type of business, teachers, coaches, and there's several other positions out there where they have more than just one-on-one opportunities. They have golden opportunities, especially the thing about being a coach at a Christian or a Catholic school, in most cases, I'm sure, that it's not only would it be okay, it would be welcomed if they were to shepherd them in ways outside of hitting the curveball and shooting a better free throw and so forth, as you alluded to. And that's one thing. You answered that really well, Lou. If you had 5 minutes with every coach in America, close your eyes and then have that conversation with God at the pearly gates. That was excellent. Listen, that comes to a close of this conversation, Lou, but I want to leave everybody with an opportunity to contact you. And folks, again, we're talking with Lou Judd. And if you want to find out more about Sports Leader and what they do, the 4 pillars, and including the Catholic identity that they strive for, go to the website, sportsleader.org. And then if you go to one of the drop-down menus at the far right, there's a contact, there's email address for Lou, and even a phone number. Reach out to him. Even if you're a parent or if you have any association with the school or there's a coaching situation, take a look at their website. Think about getting in touch with Lou. Contact them and deepen the Catholic identity with the school, with the church, with the program that you're running, because this is a true ministry and one that is very much needed in our sports culture. So, Lou Judd, thank you for being with us, and we'll have you on again in the future, and we hope that you accept that invitation again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, John. Thank you for what you're doing and for your ministry. God bless you.
And thanks to you for all you do. Take care, Lou.
Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
He always hits a point right.
Oh yeah,
right
he's
on,
great.
Nail on the head.
Oh yeah, and it's worth repeating. He does what we talk about. Like we talk about a lot of stuff, but he's doing it. And I love that story about his coach. I'm glad that I came back around to that, because that's, in fact, one of the things I wanted to say to him. I don't want to cut him off during that conversation, but one of the things that ran into me like a strong wind while he was talking was, if he did not have that coach in high school, it's quite possible he would not be doing this ministry. Like,
it was
that's
an impact on his life.
That's right.
Impact on his life. You know, a good friend of mine was talking about vocations or occupation. In occupations, a lot of folks have occupations that occupies their time.
That's right.
As opposed to a vocation. And the word vocation comes from voice, a voice, and we like to think of voice from God.
That's right.
So he's saying, okay, you have an occupation that's occupying your time as football or sports coaches. But really, really, truly, you have a vocation. And how do you then leverage the vocation, the voice from Jesus, the voice from God, to help people get to heaven? And he was just bringing that right to the face. Full throttle. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, he's done some great stuff. In fact, he did not mention it in this conversation, but it might have been off air. I can't remember if he mentioned this on air or off air, one of the last times we had him on the old show. But he mentioned that he did not start SportsLater. He's just the director of it now, but he wasn't the founder of it. But he just took it over. The gentleman stepped aside, and it gave Lou an opportunity, and God was speaking to him, and he said, I love sports. I love my faith. That's why you and I are doing this show, right? And it's the same thing. That's one of the reasons why I love having people like him on the show. It's perfect. It's so funny, Ed, and I do appreciate this. When I contact people like Lou, in fact, Lou said this. He goes, thank you so much, John, for giving me this opportunity off the air, right? He mentioned this. But this is what the show's about. In fact, this show would be far less. It would not be standing on the pedestal that it stands on if it wasn't for people like Lou Judd. That guy's out there doing this stuff, and the stuff that he does to help these coaches bring the faith. And in fact, they don't. The interesting thing is, Ed, they don't even have to mention the Catholic faith. They don't have to mention Christianity at all. He's just talking about things that are basic tenets to everyday good living.
And you know what's nice about either faith and sport? You wouldn't hear Lou Judd on ESPN. He wouldn't be on Fox Sports, or the Bleacher Report or wherever. No. But he's right here on Carolina Catholic Radio, and EWTN, or any kind of Christian Catholic source. So, bringing guests in like that. And I know you have a library, John, of future guests that we're going to have on this show. People that are just so impactful. This is a place where they can talk that message and then share it to all of our listeners. Whether you're the person at home taking care of the kids, or you're out there working in Catholic schools, or you're just at your job, your occupation. You want to make it a vocation.
Right.
And how do you spread God's words in the work you do? 80% of your waking hours are at work.
That's right.
So if your work life stinks, your regular life will stink. My point is we all can be disciples and all do what Lou is sharing us to do. Whether we're coaches or facilitators or administrators, we all have that responsibility.
No doubt about it, brother. I'm Dr. John Acquaviva. That was Ed Billick. He's the co-host of the show, Faith and Sport. You're listening to Carolina Catholic Radio. Folks, if you want to send us a tweet, you can do that at j.Acquaviva, ACQUAVIVA, just like it sounds, j.Acquaviva1. Or, what we'd love to hear from you folks is either through Twitter, or you can email me at faithandsport@wingate.edu. So that's faithandsport, faithandsport@wingate.edu, WINGATE. And that goes through my Wingate University email address, which I am a professor, as I mentioned earlier in the show. And folks, I'd like for you to use that email or Twitter account to do one of two things. To send a question to Ed and I, that's something that you'd like to hear us talk about on the radio. If you have a particular topic, whether it has to do with ethics, character, morality, as it relates to sports, that's fine. Or just a regular sports question. Ed and I aren't absolute experts on everything that's ever happened in the world of sports or going on today, but we certainly follow it enough to have this show and to address a lot of the main stuff that we talk about each and every week. So send us a question, or we'd like to hear from you if there's a coach, if there is some type of administrator, even a referee or a player that you think should be profiled. And we can either profile them on the show verbally or we can have them on as a guest, especially if you feel that they don't get enough credit in what they do on the field or off the field, and you see them as this true messenger, and they have a ministry both on and off the field, and we'd like to have them on the show or at least talk about them on the show.
Wonderful, wonderful.
That's good stuff. All right, let's do this, Ed. We got a few minutes left in the show. One of my favorite segments is the quick Q&A with Dr. A. You have a few questions for me? Shoot it at me.
You were talking earlier in the show around all the baseball trades, quasi-signings, free agents at the end of July here. Okay, so who's in the best position now to win the World Series?
No question, it's the Astros.
Oh, yeah, baby.
The Astros are loaded in their batting. They won the World Series last year, but they have Justin Verlander and they have Garrett Cole. And right now, if the season were to end, the Cy Young were to be given out, Justin Verlander were to get it. Now, if he were not in the picture, Garrett Cole would probably get it. These guys, in fact, I know you feel I'm probably rubbing it in because he's a former Pirate.
No,
but
I'm happy for him.
He's having a great year. This is the best year of his career, in fact. And
they got Zach Greinke.
Now they've added Zach Greinke, and they also have Charlie Morton. They have a really good pitching staff.
Ground ball Chuck, as we used to call him in Pittsburgh.
Is Charlie Morton? Did he used to be with the Pirates?
There's a lot of guys used to be with the Pirates.
I actually
That's
didn't know that.
AAA team up there in western Pennsylvania.
I know how you feel, brother, being a Detroit Tigers fan.
That's another whole topic.
No, I know that is, but no doubt about it. Zach Greinke coming from the Diamondbacks to the Astros. When that happened, I just put my palm to my forehead and I went, "Oh my gosh, the great just got greater."
But instead of the Yankees or Red Sox or even the Dodgers, Houston, keep winning the World Series. I'm happy for the guys down in Texas.
Actually, you like them as well?
Oh, yeah.
I actually like them.
I lived in San Antonio. We used to go see the Astros quite often.
But probably when you were there, they weren't near as. I mean, this is the greatest run.
They got a great front office. They got great leadership. Yeah, good luck, Houston.
Yeah, so good for them for getting Zach Greinke, but now they are just downright dominant. So look out for them to win another World Series.
Here's another one for you. NFL experts consistently leave Tom Brady off of the best quarterback list. Some of them do, some of them don't. Are you surprised?
I'm really surprised by this. And, brother, I mean this. I've seen, in fact, Chris Sims, the former NFL quarterback, his dad is Phil Sims and so forth. He was one of them, and there were several other people, and they're doing these lists, right? Best running backs in the game, best, wide receiver in the game, and they did best quarterback in the game. And and every time I see it, I go, did Tom Brady just resign or did he just quit? Come on, did he just retire? Why isn't he on that top 5 list?
Because then he gives shows like us to talk about it. One feeds the other.
Brother, that's funny you say that because whenever that happens, I literally think these guys are doing this to get more Twitter
hits. Tweets.
They're trying to get talked about on the internet, on social media. Why else would you leave this guy out? In fact, in my mind, it must be, okay, he's 42 and he's not all that talented, but what would you rather have? The really, really talented guy or the guy that wins the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
and we know
Dan Marino's talented guy never won a Super Bowl.
He never did win a Super Bowl.
That goes back to Belichick and the boys up there putting talent around, the right talent around Tom Brady.
He just knows what to do. And further, he signed that contract as we talked about earlier, right? And he's
2-year extension, yeah.
I know he signed through 2021 and he's still only 13th, but God bless him. And I mean this, is he's smart. And this is one of the reasons he's smart, is because he signed for a lesser amount. So there's more space, or there's salary space. Yeah. So they don't run into the salary cap.
Salary. You're thinking of how
I know. I'm always thinking
a Freudian slip, Chris.
I know that was more than a Freudian slip.
All right, we got one more for you. College football is soon. It's going to be starting soon. Are you excited?
It starts this month. In fact, I want to say the first game is 3 weeks from this Thursday.
Right. Yeah.
Today's Monday. It's unbelievable to say that. 3 weeks from this Thursday, and the whole slate, everybody plays 3 weeks from this Saturday. But the question was, am I excited? Not really. It's still 3 weeks away. There's a lot of baseball to be played. I'm excited about baseball. I love baseball. But come that weekend, literally probably that Thursday night, my heart rate will jump from its normal range of around 60 to around 100.
And for our new fans here in the Charlotte area, your number one football team in college is?
Michigan Wolverines.
And why?
Well, I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. Ann Arbor's around 40 minutes outside of Detroit.
And your number one pro team?
The Detroit Lions. Folks, you should see that look that Ed just gave me.
You have to.
It was a pure pity.
You can never give it up. You can never give up the home team.
No, but it sounds like you have jumped ship a few times. Who's your new favorite football team other than the Pittsburgh Steelers? What'd you say?
Well, no, the NFL team is the Steelers. The NFC team is the Carolina Panthers.
NFC team.
Right. Just like in baseball. My team forever will be the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Sure.
But I've turned the channel this year. I'm going to start watching Atlanta Braves because they win.
That's right. You mentioned the Atlanta Braves earlier. Yeah, no, they're a good squad, and I think they improved themselves through the trade deadline. They got Shane Green, great closer from Detroit, in fact. But no, I find that interesting that you can do. I can't do that so easily.
No, and I run into people who say I was born in Boston, but I no longer root for the Red Sox. How can you? I know that. How do you give up that allegiance? You had that in your blood since you were a child.
I know. I could never. I mean, even though I'm frustrated, and folks, this could be the stat of the day. The last time the Detroit Lions won a championship was in 1957. I mean, it's ridiculous.
You weren't even born then.
No, they've won one playoff game since then. I'm not exaggerating. They've won one playoff game since 1957. Anyway, brother, hey, let's move on to our quote of the week, and then we got coming up.
We got about 10 minutes to go here.
Yeah, we got a few. Yeah, we got a few things to do, but let's do our quote of the week. Because I think this is going to be good. You being a admirer of golfing and golfers and so forth, I think you'll appreciate this. And I've been wanting to talk about this on the air because I read about this, and this is a quote from Aristotle.
What?
I know.
Who did he play for?
He was a defensive back for the Cleveland Browns back in the early 1980s.
That's when they didn't have helmets on.
No, listen to this, brother. This is about excellence. Excellence is an art won by training and habituation. We do not act rightly because we have virtue or excellence, but we rather have those because we have acted rightly. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but is a habit. And the reason I like this is because we can all do good things, right? But what makes us a good guy or a good gal, a good person, is that we habitually do those good things. Everybody can look back on their day and go, oh, I did one good thing, right? But I like what he's talking about here is excellence. And the reason the reason I took this quote and brought it on this show is because it relates to sport. Here's a really great example. Let me ask you a question. This is a little trivia question. Of all of the 24-hour sports networks, baseball, golf, football, hockey, right? They all have, guess which one was the first one on the air? Any idea?
I think it was baseball, wasn't it?
It was golf.
It was golf?
The Golf Channel was the first 24 hours.
Before MLB.
And you know what my theory is? Mm-hmm. Here's my theory. Is because this is the only sport, right? The only sport in which you play by the same rules. You play on even the same courses as the pros do.
You know, I was thinking of having lunch today. J.T. Poston won the Wyndham Championship.
Yep.
He's from Hickory, North Carolina, 100 miles down the road. Okay, Shane Lowry run the I call it the Irish Open, but the British Open.
Yeah.
Because in his country. Okay, maybe the refs were pulling for him. Maybe he had some hometown favorites of fans. No, to your point, that game is you're playing against the course and you're playing against yourself every time. So going back to that has nothing to do. So I'm happy for those guys. They win in their home state or their home country. Yeah. But to your point, what Aristotle's saying, they do it because they habitually are working the game. They're playing against themselves. So they're playing against the course, which is always pretty cool. So it kind of ties.
The best, I've hit so few good shots in golf that I remember probably the best shot I've ever hit. I remember I was playing in Maryland and I drove the ball. And I actually hit the ball pretty well, but it just went off the fairway. But there was a huge tree, and I mean a really big tree between me, where my ball was, and the green. And I was about 120 away from the green. I had a 7 iron, I think. And I knew I had to get that. It might have been an 8 iron because this tree was really big. And I tell you, it was a minor miracle. It's one of the times that, God shows how powerful he can be. I hit that ball, Ed. It went exactly where I wanted to go. It missed that top leaf by about this much, and my fingers, folks, are about an inch away, and it went onto the green about 12 inches from the... Now, the reason I bring that up is because I made a great shot. In fact, anybody else could be standing there. Any pro in the world could be standing there, and they wouldn't hit a better shot. But the difference is they would hit that shot virtually every time. Right?
You're
and
right.
The reason I remember that is because of the best shot of my life. Anyway, this is what excellence is. And when we see those guys take those shots on the course, we see batters in baseball, free throw shooters in whatever the case is, they've done that thousands of times. And that's what Aristotle's telling us to do, that it just must be practiced as a habit rather than just doing something good one time.
Let me bring it to the Catholic viewpoint. You talk to people that attend daily Mass.
Yep.
And they say, I cannot start my day without going to daily Mass. They go,
a great analogy.
How do you go every day? It's part of my routine. It's part of my habit. On the way to work or as I start my day, I go to the 7 o'clock Mass and the 9 o'clock Mass. And then when you attend daily Mass, the same people are in the same seats, and that's how they start their day.
That's right.
They've created their routine. They've created that habit, and they're better Catholics because of it.
Yeah, they're better people because of it. Yeah, because they're learning virtue. They're learning respect for God.
And the better they get at it, the better Catholic or the better Christian person are, the better way they treat people and all the other good things.
The better that person they are in society. Very good.
That's a good one.
Brother.
Good one.
Good stuff. All right, that's our quote of the week from who other than Aristotle?
Yeah, I played golf back in the 20s with Sam Snead.
Folks, I'm Dr. John Aquaviva. That's co-host Ed Billick with me here in studio.
We have one of our favorite points coming up next here on Faith and Sport. It's my favorite topic of every week.
The Catholic of the Week.
Catholic of the Week. Now, we didn't. If you weren't listening to our last show, what do you mean by Catholic? I mean, it's so easy to say now, Catholic.
It is. I know. In fact, I just naturally do this. But yeah, if somebody's listening for the first time, I think they just thought we were misspeaking. We just took the word Catholic and then combined it with the word athlete, right, which this show is all about. And these are individuals, men and women of all ages, that have just demonstrated to be good Christians in the world, and they're proud of their Catholic faith. And some of them are more subtle than others, but a lot of them aren't so subtle, and they just wear it on their sleeve, and they love to talk about God.
We're going to highlight one every show, but let's just rattle off top five. We've highlighted before. You hit them, and I'll just go. Go ahead. Give me about 5 or 6. And you do 5, and I'll do 5.
Yeah, last week's was Joe DeLamielleure.
Right.
And then we had...
play for the Buffalo Bills.
Bills. And then Jerry Faust, the former coach of the Notre Dame college football. Yeah. Yep. Then there was...
Jordan Spieth.
Jordan Spieth was our Catholic of the Week. Father Hilgenbrand, who used to play in MLS, now he's a priest out in Illinois.
Vin Scully used to be the famed announcer of the LA Dodgers. Sure.
Yeah. That was another
Yogi Berra.
Yogi Berra. And another one was Phil Rivers, the quarterback.
Of the LA Chargers. I want to say
he's up to 7 children now with the LA Chargers. Yeah, he's near the end of his career, but of course he's got a long way to go if he's going to even reach 42. So he's probably
devout Catholics. I understand Jay Billis is a devout Catholic.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
See, and what happens is you don't understand. So who's our devout Catholic of the week here?
First of all, folks, I want to let you know that our Catholic of the Week from here on out is brought to us by Brand RPM.
And they are who?
And they are... brandrpm.com. Get your brand and gear. We have access to over 100 million products at brandrpm.com. And
Great sponsor.
Oh, yeah, I know. Thank you, David Anderson and Brand RPM for sponsoring our Cathlete of the Week. It's Mike Piazza. And the reason I did this was because just coming off is the aforementioned Hall of Fame speeches from the NFL.
And MLB.
Yep. Mike Piazza a couple years ago. In fact, I want to say it was 2 years ago that he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And in his acceptance speech, Piazza thanked both his parents and described his Catholic faith as the greatest gift of all from his parents, especially his mother, Veronica. And here's what he said. She gave me the gift of my Catholic faith, the greatest gift a mother could give a child, which had profound impact on my career and has given me patience, compassion, and hope. Pope Benedict XVI said, one who has hope lives differently. Mom, you raised 5 boys, and you were always there for me.
Beautiful.
I thought that was great. That was so inspirational, and so few people would say something like that on such a stage. And Piazza not only did it, he had the courage to do it, and he did it with a lot of...
Played for the New York Mets, played for the LA Dodgers.
Miami Marlins for 1 year.
Right.
The Oakland A's. And he played for Team Italy. Did you know that, brother?
Team Italy?
Yeah. He played for the national team toward the end of his career. I was trying to get on that same team.
Arrivederci. Or whoever they were.
Arrivederci.
Well, we got, Chris, got a minute to go here.
Anyway, folks, Catholic of the Week was brought to us by Brand RPM. Are you ready to swag up? Let Brand RPM outfit your company. Check them out at brandrpm.com. Brother, I thought this was a good show. We want to thank everybody for being with us. Join us next week at 2 o'clock. Remember, here's what we do here on Faith and Sport. You're listening to Carolina Catholic Radio. What we do is we weave in faith, morality, ethics into our conversation. In conclusion, folks, our Pope Francis said, in sport as in life, competing for the result is important, but playing well and fairly is even more important. I'm Dr. John Acquaviva for Ed Billick. Please join us next time here on Carolina Catholic Radio for Faith in Sport.
You've been listening to Faith and Sport on Carolina Catholic Radio, Charlotte, AM 1270. Tune in every Monday afternoon from 2 to 3 for Faith and Sport with your hosts, John Acquaviva and Ed Billick, here on Carolina Catholic Radio, AM 1270, Charlotte.
We hope you enjoyed the program and will join us back for another show on WCAT Radio. This is Sebastian Mahfood. Good day.